sure you check out our online store where we work with our graphic designer to create stunning garment and product designs that feature a wide variety of aircraft types such as British fighters, World War II aircraft, American bombers, Russian fighters and much more. You can pick your favourite designs and personalise any items within our Redbubble store that range from clothing right the way through to stationery. All of our designs feature our logo, so you can show your support for the channel while getting a quality product. You can head to our website aircrewinterview.tv and click store, or go to redbubble.com/people/AC interview. Thank you and enjoy. Yeah, and I think you're an amazing role model as well, Cabo. And this is a nice segue into the next part. So, yeah, talk us through how you became the demo pilot for the F-22 team.
So there are 4 demonstration teams, single ship demonstration teams. We have Thunderbirds in the Air Force, we have the Blue Angels, just like the Red Arrows. They're teams, and the airplanes are all painted up and they're pretty looking, and they do air show routines, which is great. And they do a lot more air show stuff than we do. But there are 4 single ship demo teams out there in the Air Force. We have F-22, obviously, A-10, F-16, and then F-35. And all of our teams are structured very similar ways. And our job is to kind of showcase the combat aspect of the F-22 and the teamwork obviously required to put these airplanes in the skies. So for that, to be one of the pilots, you have to be an instructor pilot first. So you have to have gone through those upgrades, have the requisite experience to be teaching and experienced in that capacity. And then from there, every 2 years, the job becomes available, and we send an email out. I'm actually getting ready to send the email out in probably a couple of weeks to all the other squadrons in the community and say, hey, who's interested in doing this for 2023, 2024? And once they meet those prerequisites, then we'll go through the records and figure out who do we think is the best fit for this job. We'll bring the top applicants out to Virginia, interview them, and then from there, we'll make a selection, probably sometime in March. We'll see. But that's kind of the process. I was an instructor pilot. I was teaching for about 2.5 years before I got picked up for this job, and then applied, did the interviews, and from there they thought I was the right fit for it. The flying piece is maybe 10 to 20% of this job. It's the dangerous piece, right? It's the part that'll kill me. But it's not the most important part by any means. Leading the team of people and doing all the community outreach and engagement things, that's probably the most important stuff about this job. And they want to find a person that's the right fit for it. There are some people that are incredibly brilliant, gifted aviators, but you put them in a room full of people and they can't hold a conversation because they're just not, that's not how they're wired, and we can't have that as a person, representing the Air Force and the F-22 community. So they want to find the right fit for it. And also, find something that has a compelling story, and that's really important too, because we look at that when we hire people for the team. We hire people every year for the team, and we swap out about half the team every year on that kind of 2-year rotation. Mm-hmm. So I look at that and I say, okay, well, if we get the names from their leadership, they are competent, qualified people, but we need to find somebody that's going to represent the Air Force really well and also have a compelling story that's like, here's my story, here's my background. And if that resonates with people, if that resonates with one little kid out there, that one little kid's life has changed forever, then we've done our job. Exactly. So I try to find that. And, for me, I think some of the things they probably looked at were the fact that, my family, majority of my family came from Cuba back in the 60s. They moved here when communism took over in Cuba, and they were like, we're not sticking around for this, we're out. So they picked up and literally moved absolutely nothing, just the family members, and started over again in the States, and have done really well for themselves, which is awesome. So I think that story, that whole background is probably something. When I grew up, I spoke English and Spanish in the house, and I'm still bilingual, in Spanish. So having that ability to reach out to audiences, and we've done plenty of school visits, plenty of Zoom calls or Skype or whatever it is in Spanish as well. So being able to reach out to different audiences and show a different group of people like, hey, this is possible. All these things, whatever goals you have in life are possible. It's just a matter of having the right goal, the thing that makes you excited, the things that drive you, and then going after those goals regardless of whatever hurdles are in your way. Because ultimately, people and things are going to be hurdles in everybody's life. It doesn't really matter what pursuit you want or have. It doesn't matter. There are going to be things in your way for every single person. So being able to reach different audiences and groups and through the team of 14 people that we have, find different people from different backgrounds to share those stories and resonate with different groups is really important. Just to help provide that kind of hope and that incentive and that drive.
Yeah, because like you say, like yeah, I think your story would resonate with people because obviously people think with fighter pilots, maybe engineers, it's like almost like an impossible goal. But if you go out there and interact with the public, it's like no, it is possible. You can come from anywhere and you can achieve things. So I think that's great.
Yeah, and I mean, and another thing too is, my parents got divorced when I was two, and my mom would take me to air shows every year as a single parent, and I go there, and I've always wanted to fly jets. When I was 12 or 11 years old, I went to the show in my hometown of Tampa, Florida, and I met the F-15C Demo Pilot at the time. He's basically the same job I'm doing right now, but in the F-15 back in '98. And I meet him and take a picture with him. Don't think anything of it. And then 12 years later, he's one of my instructor pilots in the F-15 school. Again,
That's
right?
amazing.
Small world. I see this guy, and
Yeah,
I'm like, he looks really familiar. I can't put my like finger on where I met him
yeah.
before, but he looks familiar. And then I saw his helmet bag, and it had a demo team patch on it. I was like, there is absolutely no way this is the guy. So I called my mom up, and I was like, hey, can you send that picture from the air show back then? And sure enough, it's the same guy. So we actually, I mean, we still text and call and talk, catch up all the time. He actually sent me. He lives in Hawaii, so really tough life.
Wow.
He sent me some great Hawaiian coffees, like, hey, congrats on the end of the season, so I talk with him, and we keep up all the time, which is great, and I think that's another thing too, is like the impact that air shows have on kids is really
Absolutely.
undervalued by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that it's not quantifiable. There's no metric, there's no spreadsheet that's going to
Of
turn
course.
green, or people are going to say, oh well, here's a return on investment of air shows. It's
Hmm.
hard to quantify that. But if you have somebody like myself who saw an air show as a kid, was inspired to continue pursuing aviation, pursued aviation, got now to where the point where I'm actually a demo pilot,
Hmm.
that story is really compelling too, because it gives people a visible pathway to achieving their goals um, through hard work and dedication and all those things. So I think that's probably another reason why they chose me for it. Yeah, so I think, like I said, it just kind of comes down to, you have to be qualified, you have to be the right person, and then have a compelling story. And if you can do those three things, you have a really competitive chance of being the demo pilot.
Yeah. So like, who comes up with the display routine? Is it yourself or is it other pilots? Is it like the engineers? Who does everyone get a say, or is it all down to you?
No, it's down to the initial demonstration was designed by the test pilots, and they
Okay.
looked at all the all the parameters of the airplane, what it's capable of doing, and what maneuvers would showcase the maneuverability and the capabilities of the airplane.
Right.
And they also run through a lot of failure modes, so that we um, when we do air shows, we make it as safe as possible. I want to show the airplane off, but I also want to do it safely, because I don't want to have obviously an incident, nor do I want to have somebody go to an air show with their family and the kids see this, and all of a sudden something terrible happens, and they walk away with that memory. They're like, holy
Hmm.
cow, this is terrible. I hate
Yes.
aviation. Like, that's
We don't want
bad.
that.
Um, and you can Google plenty of examples of that all around the globe, and that's terrible. And
Yes.
people don't forget that stuff. So the flight test engineers, the test pilots have done an amazing job of going through and modeling everything we do and the parameters, and making sure that even if things fail in the demonstration, like, it's recoverable, and I can save the airplane and get it on the ground safely. And airplanes break. I always look at go back to cars examples. If I get a sensible, four-door sedan, it's probably not going to break very often. It's probably going to be reliable, probably going to
Yeah.
work properly. If I'm going to take an F1 race car out, it's probably going to break a lot, because I'm pushing it to the limits. Like, there's a reason they have
Yes.
pit crews. Those pit crews are working really hard, because these are high performance machines. So in the demonstration, I'm pushing the airplane to its limits in some regards, and it's going to break. And that's part of the game. So we want to make sure that we mitigate as many risks as possible to keep the airplane safe, myself safe, and the team safe, and make the experience enjoyable for the crowds out there. Thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't had many issues at all in the airplane, which has been great. But they look at that stuff, and then each pilot will kind of modify things slightly, nothing dramatic, but slightly. And if you were to play a video of a previous demo pilot, I could probably tell you who it was by just watching how they flew,
All
based
right.
on the subtle, repositions and how they do things a little differently. Like, I've watched enough tape now where I'm like, I can tell you who that is, just based on watching them fly. And that's just the subtle differences that we kind of impart on it as a demo pilot. Um, there are things, the demo profile has been relatively unchanged for years now. So
Okay.
I'm actually working with the test pilots right now to kind of maybe change a couple things to kind of freshen it up a little bit, which would be cool. Um, and that's kind of my goal is to. I don't want to really change it dramatically because I think the demonstration itself is really good. It showcased a lot of the amazing things of the Raptor, but I do think it's probably about time to change up a couple of things and just keep it a little bit fresher for the audience that have been seeing this routine for a while.
Yeah, because I interviewed Rain, who was the F-16 demo pilot, and I was asking the same kind of question, and he said the US Air Force tend to stick to the same routine, whereas like the RAF Typhoon, they change it up every year. But so I was a bit shocked when he first said that. I thought you could change it up every year, but it seems like you're kind of stuck to a certain pattern, what maneuvers you can fly. But yeah, so hopefully in the next couple of years we'll see something different or something change. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'll keep working on it. Like I said, it goes. We're gonna still default to the engineers and make sure that all the modeling is done properly and all the failure modes are done properly. So, if I do a simple aileron roll or two aileron rolls or whatever, like it's not cosmic, right? But if I'm gonna do the high alpha, high angle of attack, crazy stuff with the F-22, like we're gonna make sure that in those regimes the airplane is safe.
Absolutely.
The other stuff isn't a big deal, but those maneuvers that are like I didn't think airplanes could do that maneuvers like that. That's the stuff we want to make sure that we test properly.
Of course, yeah. So, do you have a favorite maneuver you've flown over the years?
Yeah, it's not the most complicated maneuver. We call it the dedication pass. It's basically this low arcing pass in front of the crowd, and the reason we do that is for all the men and women who've served in the military, who paid the ultimate price, and not just them, but also their families. Because when we lose somebody, we don't just lose them. Their families lost them. Their families continue to pay that burden of sacrifice.
Absolutely.
And whether it's the holidays we have here in the States or in the UK or in Australia or across the globe, communities give a lot of respect to the people that have sacrificed their lives for their defending their culture and their way of life. So that's my favorite maneuver, hands down. And everything we do in the demonstration, one of the changes that I made when I took over on the team was we try to get everything down to like the second. We're trying to get very precise, where like the music, the maneuver, the narration, everything is done like clockwork. And that way, like I said, it's a demonstration, right? It's a performance. And when I look at performances, when I go to theater or I listen to, concerts, like there are those moments that just stand out in your brain. You walk away with those, you'll never forget them. And I want the same thing to happen for the audiences that are at air shows. So when we do the dedication pass, for example, we play a song that was specifically written for members who have passed away, and the chorus or the song kind of dies off, and the chorus jumps in really hard, like the jet banks up at the right time, and all those things, because I want them to just walk away like, holy cow, that was incredible, and that's what I want them to walk away with. So that's why I like that maneuver a lot, just for the meaning of it.
Absolutely. And I was lucky enough to see you in Singapore last year, and
oh, great.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was on Saturday because my parents live over there, and my favorite maneuvers were your last two maneuvers where you kind of, let me see on my phone, I'm going to get rinsed by my followers. So you come in and then you do that like a kind of, and then you brake like that.
Yep.
And then you come back, and then I was listening to the commentator, and he was, I think it's called, forgive me if I'm wrong, it's spippish, and then you do like the hard bank, and then you're like off. That was amazing because it was so loud, and it was like the belly was going. I was like, this is amazing. So I appreciate that.
That's always the crowd favorite, just because the jet just slides right in front of you.
Yeah.
You see the afterburners, and you can feel it in your chest, and you're like, holy cow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so like, what did you feel about Singapore and flying over there? Because that was a great. Was it a 3 or 4 day event?
Yeah, Singapore was great. It was interesting because that was right when COVID was kind of making the news.
It was just kicking in, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they had a bunch of sponsors pull out of that show, and we were, we had already in December we had already gotten our schedule for 2020. And Singapore's kicking off the season. We're like, this is going to be an awesome way to start the season. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
And then COVID started, materializing. And then we got the news like, hey, I think it's like Boeing and Airbus and Lockheed Martin and all these big contractors were pulling out of their booths and vendors, and the crowd count was, and we're like, oh, this isn't great. But we went still, we landed, got to the airport, and I get an email on my work phone that's like, hey, when do you guys leave for Singapore? Because this COVID thing seems like it may be a real thing, and we have to keep you back here in the States. And it's like, I immediately picked the phone and called. I was like, hey guys, we're in
Well,
Singapore,
I mean,
and
yeah.
and yeah, and they were like, well, I guess if you're there, you just fly, I guess. Like, all right, cool. So yeah, that was great. And they hadn't really like started locking things down yet, so there were some like measures that were taking place in
Yeah.
Singapore, but it wasn't anything drastic yet. So we still got to go out there and have amazing food. I met up with actually some Aussie friends of mine who were there.
Nice.
They were Qantas pilots, and they were laying over Cathay and Qantas, and another guy flies Emirates. They all happened to be there in Singapore at the time, so we all got to meet up and grab food and drinks on stuff, and it was just great to catch up with them. And I mean, Singapore's gorgeous. That was the first time I'd have been there, and really pretty area. You know, especially flying over was gorgeous.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, how do you sum up your time flying the F-22 demo? I mean, like interacting with the public's probably, I'm guessing, the best thing because that must be amazing for you, signing autographs, inspiring young people.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that I'll walk away from this job with after next year is going to be that. You know, it's kind of twofold. It's one is having a small team of maintainers and support that go along with us to shows. We travel with 10 people total to each show, and it's like a small family. You know, we
Oh
get to
yeah,
travel with them, and it's incredible. You know, I absolutely love that, and love the close knit community that we have with the team. So I will definitely walk away and cherish those people and those experiences, those times more than anything else in terms of the team dynamic. And then the
yeah,
greater context dynamic will be, yeah, going to schools and talking to kids. And I'm not a huge fan of social media. I have an Instagram account now, and I don't really have any social media than
yeah.
Instagram. But I love the ability for young kids around the globe to just direct message me and ask me questions, and I can immediately give them that feedback or give them the answer or try to find the answer for them. So
Yeah, absolutely.
that interaction is huge. Um, so I like that ability of this job is to be able to do that. There are obviously a bunch of other perks like traveling and seeing cool places and meeting great people. Like, those are all great things. But like when you see little kids' eyes light up and realize that whatever goal they want, and I'm definitely our primary job in the demo team is to recruit, right? It's to try to bring people in the Air Force.
Yeah,
And it may seem counterintuitive or may seem contradictory, but I honestly don't care if anybody joins the Air Force. And I say that sincerely, and I don't mean that to slight it or to be cheeky about it. I say that because it's like I want people to find whatever makes them happy, and I want to go after those goals. And I just want to use the airplane and the Air Force as a conduit to show, like,
inspiration, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah, so, and if people want to join the Air Force, the Armed Services is a great opportunity for a lot of people. It provides education, provides experience, provides travel, it provides great friends. Like all these things are huge benefits to the Armed Services. And I explain those things to them, but at the end of the day, they don't want to join the military. They want to become whatever they want to become. I just want them to do that. So when I see little kids' eyes light up and make that connection, they make the connection that I can do whatever I want to do.
yeah,
That to me is you can't put a price on that.
absolutely.
And that's definitely what I'll walk away with, from this job and just look back on. And I truly think, until I do something else that's better, which I highly doubt will,
Very much so.
um, I think this was probably the best job I ever had in my life.
Awesome. Well, Cabo, I've got a couple of questions from our patrons and then a couple of personal ones for me to wrap up if you're happy with that. So this is from Joe, and he says, "So Cabo, what does the F22 do better than the F35?"
Air to air. So, I mean, in terms of maneuverability, speed, performance, carries more weapons, all those things, I think the airplane is just better suited for the air to air mission. And the F-35 is better air to ground. That's what, it's kind of designed that way. And if you look at the F-15, F-16 example, similar, very synonymous, where the F-15 was designed for air to air combat, the F-16 was designed for air to ground
Mm-hmm.
combat. At least, well, it morphed into that. It wasn't designed by John Boyd as that initially, but it morphed into an air to ground platform. So I kind of look at it that way. The F-22 is more capable and more optimized for air to air. F-35 is more of a multi-role, primarily air to ground fighter.
Brilliant. So hopefully that answered your question there, Joe. And this is from Noel. Can Cabo comment on whether the F-22 demo maneuvers are just airshow maneuvers or do they actually use them tactically in BFM?
Yeah, so BFM, basic fighter maneuvers, dogfighting. Everything we do in the show, I would use in dogfighting. and I'll say that, and I'll make sure I qualify it appropriately. The maneuvers you do in the air show are very specific with airspeeds, with altitudes, with parameters, because like I mentioned before in the chat, is that we do it very specifically to make sure it's safe and repeatable and all those things.
Yeah.
In terms of the maneuver itself, like I'm going to use the pedal turn, I'm going to use the high off loop, I'm going to use the slow speed, I'm going to use the high speed, I'm going to use all those things in a either training or combat scenario. It may look a little different because I'm not following a script in training or combat, but the maneuvers nonetheless are the same.
And the last one from Noel is, not sure if you're going to be able to answer on this one. Are there plans of getting a helmet-mounted sight for the F-22, and does he think this is a major limiting factor when engaging in BFM with helmet-mounted sight equipping adversary aircraft?
So they've done testing with helmets in F-22, and they've actually flown with them in the F-22 repeatedly at test division. So it really comes down to a cost thing. What do we think is more important? What do you think is going to be a better return on our investment funds? And there are a lot of things that are out there right now that we can't really talk about that are pretty incredible. And one of the things about the F-22 is that we don't hang anything on the outside. So if something changes in the airplane, it's almost imperceptible because you can't see the hardware in the airplane. So there are a lot of things that have been changed and updated, and things that will continue to change and update as we go forward. So that's where they've elected to put their money in terms of upgrades. And having flown with a helmet for 3 years in the UL, I absolutely love a helmet. I absolutely wish we had one, but at the same time, like there are some things that I think would be more beneficial than just a helmet. So like I said, I would love one, right? But we don't live in the land of infinite money. So if that were the case, I'd love to have one. But if it came down to that or the things they're working on right now, I'd probably, I'd defer to those things instead. In terms of fighting people with helmets, it goes back to the discussion of like, how does an F-22 fare against a Typhoon or whatever? It's still going to come down to the pilot that's flying and operating the airplane, because you still have to cue the thing, the weapon, and you're still pulling G's, you're still maneuvering, you're still doing all those things. And the F-22 is very maneuverable. I've fought with plenty of people that have helmets and done just fine without a helmet. The helmet's not the only way you can cue the weapons. You can cue weapons with other ways as well.
Yes.
The helmet's great, but I wish I had one. But I don't ever go to a fight, in a visual fight, assuming like I'm not going to win because I don't have a helmet.
Well, thanks for answering our patrons' questions.
Yeah.
So just a couple of personal ones for me to wrap up, Cabo. So do you have any hobbies?
I do, yeah. So I like to work out, run, bike, cooking. Love cooking. It's just great to get people together and we just had Thanksgiving. We had a bunch of family together and like 15 folks together, and we're cooking and having a great time. And it's just a conduit. It's a way to bring people together and talk and discuss life and those things. So to me, that's just a way to do that. And I enjoy that. I enjoy working hard to provide for other people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. This could be a tough one, Cabo. Favorite aircraft you've flown so far?
That's not just tough. That's impossible. They all have their benefits, and I'd say for like the pure joy of flying, I think gliders are probably the best. Just because there's nothing complex about them. It's just an airfoil, and you get to hear the wind and you get to enjoy the scenery. And that to me, for the pure sense of flying, is really enjoyable. In terms of like, what would I take to combat? F-22, hands down. It's just the most capable airplane out there, and I love the airplane.
And one aircraft you would love to fly past or present?
Oof. I'll answer in two different ways: present and then past. So present, I would love to fly an A-10. I think the A-10 is
really?
awesome.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, I love the A-10. Yeah. My buddy who's the A-10 Demo Pilot, Gator. It's funny because we have a lot of very similar perspectives on life and a lot of things. Like, we like to be really good at one thing. Like, I really like to be good at air to air. He likes to be really good at closer support and air to ground stuff. And we like that. Like, I think it's just personality driven. There's some people that want to do a little bit of everything, and there's some people that want to focus to be really good at one thing. And I'm the latter. Yeah, I'm in the latter category. So I've seen that the airplane in school. Like, it's just such a cool airplane. It's got a massive gun. It's just awesome. Like there are no frills, just a lot of awesomeness. So that airplane is really cool to fly in terms of presence. And then in terms of past airplanes, man, that's a tough one. I guess man, I think I would probably pick. I mean, I've flown in a Mustang, so if I hadn't flown a Mustang, I'd probably pick a Mustang because I think it's just an incredibly, at least for America, it's it's just such an iconic airplane.
It's like our Spitfire, isn't it? Of course.
It's like the Spitfire, yeah. It's just like the Spitfire, where it's just incredibly iconic, and yeah, in terms of warbirds and classic airplanes, there are tons of Mustangs out there. There are probably tons of Spitfires out there. Yeah. So it's not like it's a rare airplane.
Yeah.
But it's an iconic airplane, and I think that's what makes it really special. But I've gotten a chance to fly that, which is really cool. I think just for just the performance, I think it would do a SR-71. I think it'd be super cool to fly SR-71.
I've heard that a few times. Yeah, I think I would pick that as well. It's an awesome plane.
Yeah, it's just so unique in terms of what its capabilities are. I think it'd be really, really cool to fly that airplane.
Yeah, just having a sandwich at Mach 3, that'd be pretty cool.
No big deal, having a bite.
Yeah. So to wrap up, Cabo, this has been a great interview, but where can we find you and the F22 guys online?
Yeah, so we have a couple of different media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at F22 Demo Team, all one word. You can look us up on any of those platforms. And then I have I just have the one social media page on Instagram, just at Cabo Gunderson. And any of those places you can find our content, you can find resources, you can ask us whatever questions you have, and we're happy to answer whatever follow-on questions your viewers may happen to have as well.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show, Cabo. It's been an absolute pleasure to hear about your career and story so far, and I'm wishing you well for the future, but thanks very much.
Thank you so much. Pleasure talking with you.
Cheers.